Hey everyone, it's Blair here with Time Trades. Hope you're having a great weekend. I'm going to give a quick tour of what I'm seeing in the forecast for time trades for the coming week. I was off for most of the last week, so I didn't get to analyze the markets much in real time. So we'll get caught up and walk you through some interpretations of the forecast that we're seeing right now, starting with Bitcoin. Right now with Bitcoin, I'll show you the settings that I'm using. I've got Gann waves on. Those are the yellow and blue stripes. I've got short-term waves on. Those are the curvy lines. And we continue to trend up. There's a generally bullish forecast here with little to no downward pressure up here in the net probability of a 5-day decline. And there's also little to no pivot lows for the coming week. The next most important pivot or forecast is coming up here in the September 2 to the September 6 timeframe. So in my opinion, we should be buying dips until this timeframe. And one other thing to look out here for is on the short-term waves, in general, a reminder is that signals here are changes in direction and also crossing the zero line, okay? So we've got a crossing of the zero line of dark blue on August 29th. So that's something to watch closely. The last time that happened was back here on April 6th. We had a little short-term top for a couple days before we resumed the final push into the all-time high. Another thing to watch out for is the yellow line as it's declining. Okay, so one of the things that we've seen is that as the yellow line declines, sometimes it gets to a certain point and then that can trigger a decline in price. So I've got my mouse right here over a high in price of 59.3 back in May. This is just before the big flush. And you can just draw your eye horizontally along that line. And we can see that it's approaching the same level over here on August 26. Okay, so that's another thing to watch out for is if that behavior repeats. So if the yellow line ends up being a trigger, we could see a short-term high around August 26. So there's a couple things to be careful of and be aware of as you're trading Bitcoin from the long side. But overall, we're seeing a very nice confluence here between the 5-day probability of an increase moving up into this pivot high here. I don't know what price is going to be. Time Trades doesn't forecast price. There's lots of other methods to forecast price. So I would recommend combining these Time Trades timing forecasts with whatever price method that you're using, okay? One last thing that I want to show you on Bitcoin before we move on is one of the more interesting and reliable minor top indicators is when Venus crosses the south node on the wheel of 24. So I've turned that on here on the wheel of 24. And just to make it more clear, I'm going to turn off the short-term waves so the chart's a little less busy, and also turn off Gann waves. And now all we have is Venus and the south node. So if we go back in time and look at what happens here, when the blue line crosses the white line, 9 times out of 10, you will find a temporary top that tends to last for a couple days. So in a broader bull market, this is a great buying opportunity, okay? So here we are, August 11th, got a couple red bars. Here we are, July 23rd, no red bars. This is like that 1 time out of 10 where it didn't work. Moving back, July 4th, got a short-term top followed up by a red bar. So it worked that time. Moving back, June 15th. Yep, definitely worked there. Moving back, May 27th, definitely worked there. Okay, so you can go on and try that out for yourself in time trades. But the point is that the next one is coming up August 31, and that's within a couple days of this forecast high. All right, so all this means is it's something to be aware of going forward. There's a couple reasons to just be cautious and make sure that you've got your stop set. But in general, the direction for Bitcoin is trading on the long side, at least until this time period here of September 2nd through September 6th, where we're seeing a higher probability for a forecast pivot high. Okay, so let's take a look at what else we're seeing here in time trades. I'm going to do a quick scan of the indexes, starting with the three major American stock indexes, the QQQs. And we had a very interesting week last week. I'm going to go and turn on the juice indicator here. And I'm going to turn off Gann Waves just to make it a little bit more clear and turn off the 24 lines. Well, actually, I'm going to leave these on. All right. So one of the things about the juice indicator that I love, it's a relatively accurate predictor of volatility. And boy, did we see some volatility on Wednesday, Thursday last week before we got back up. So if you were prepared for this, if you anticipated this, you would have seen this as a huge buying opportunity. You could have picked up the Qs at 360, right on that 24 line support, and be well positioned. Right now, full disclosure, I am long on the Qs, so I'm looking for a move up halfway, at least half to 372. That's halfway between the 360 and 384 24 line. And you can see historically what tends to happen around these juice spikes, right? So you can see there's a kind of a red to green pattern. You tend to get a couple red days followed up by some green days. And we got a wonderful boost of momentum coming out of there. And we can see that is forecast to continue next week by looking at the probability of 5-day increases. And looking ahead, I like to look at pivots. So the next major pivot here is September 8th as a pivot low. So that corresponds with this probability of a 5-day decline. And then from there, the forecast is for moving up into this 10% probability of a pivot high. So it looks to me like the trend is up on the QQQs in the short term. So I'm going to take advantage of that over the next week or two. Okay, so let's move over and take a look at some of the other indexes. I want to take a look at spiders. Okay, so here's spiders. It looks a little bit more bullish in the forecast than the Qs. So we have a forecast pivot low tomorrow, Monday, August 23rd. But then there's some more upward momentum forecast through early September, and that coincides with this yellow Gann wave period here. And if we look back in time, we can see there's some pattern of highs being made during the yellow Gann period. I mean, it's not 100%, but that does tend to happen in the past. So hopefully that happens again. And we've got a nice forecast of a 5-day increase right here on September 2nd. So right around Labor Day this year, we should see some upward momentum on the spiders. Let's take a look at the Dow. Using the diamonds, very similar to the spiders. We've got some nice upward momentum. We've got a pivot low August 25th, followed by some upward momentum off of that, going into a pivot high August 30th. So in general, the trend is up. I was amused by the end of the world tweets on Twitter after a 1% down move. Definitely not seeing that in the forecast. I think there's a little bit more bearishness to come in the October-November timeframe. As you can see here in the Dow, we've got some larger forecast moves down starting in mid-September and going through mid-October. Then we've got some more forecast highs here in November, and a big forecast low in early January. The other thing I'm keeping my eye on in the long term is over here on the far right. The juice indicator basically flatlines for a couple weeks. So the juice indicator is a leading indicator of solar activity. That's going to near zero. Well, it is zero in February of 2022. So we're not going to be getting any of that solar energy like flares or increased solar weather. So solar weather is going to be really boring during that period. So something to look out for. Okay, so that's it for me for this weekend. I hope you're all doing well, staying safe and trading safe, and we'll talk to you in a week. Thanks. Bye now.